Is America pulling its troops out of Europe? This is The World Brief with me, Aaron Dahmen, and your week in 10 minutes starts now.
Since the outbreak of conflict in the Middle East and the Central East, the war with Iran has shifted U.S. attention somewhat towards that geopolitical theater.
We're going to cut way down, and we're cutting a lot further than 5,000. Thank you very much.
I hope that we can find a way out of the situation. In any case, I stand by my fundamental conviction that the transatlantic relationship is of great value. The presence and maintenance of the American military in Europe is of strategic importance to all of us. We must do everything in our power to ensure that the United States does not turn away from Europe.
And here to brief us tonight is our correspondent Kazimierz Wysiak. Kazimierz, welcome to the programme. So what is going on? Is Donald Trump cutting troop numbers in Europe? Can he even do that on a whim?
Hello, Aaron. The short answer is yes, he can, to a point. Ever since Donald Trump has returned to the Oval Office, he has floated the idea of once again withdrawing some U.S. troops from Europe, and that was seen as a cause for concern not only by European leaders but also by Trump's own people in his own camp in Congress. And they adopted a document titled the National Defense Authorization Act. In it, they are putting a limit on pulling troops from Europe to the level of 76,000. Now, last year there was about 85,000 U.S. troops in Europe, so that means that Trump does have some leeway, and he has already announced that he will pull some 5,000 troops from Germany in the next 6 to 12 months. Now, whether he will pull some more from other European countries, that remains to be seen, but he has already flaunted the idea that potentially he could pull some troops from Spain or Italy as well.
So much to watch. Speaking of the fallout then between Donald Trump and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and this withdrawal of troops. You're in Rome, I can see the Colosseum behind you, just a few weeks after the US president traded barbs with his ally Georgia Meloni. So now Marco Rubio is in town. What's going on there? Is this a patch-up mission with Rome?
Well, you could describe it this way, Aaron, as there was a bit of a fallout between Georgia Meloni and the White House. Meloni being seen in Europe as one of the closest allies of Trump and the MAGA movement. However, it all became a bit more complicated after Pope Leo XIV criticized the ongoing war in Iran. Donald Trump criticized the Pope, then Meloni defended the Pope, and Trump criticized Meloni. And then he said that he could potentially withdraw troops from Italy as well. So you can see that, well, Marco Rubio being here is seen in Rome as sort of a mission to mend the relations between Washington and Rome. He is typically sent to Europe when the United States wants to better the relations with European partners. When Trump wants to criticize Europe, he tends to send JD Vance. Exactly. So while he was here, he did talk about security ties with Meloni. He did say that the cooperation is looking good, but he said that they didn't discuss the potential withdrawal of troops because that decision has to be made by President Trump. So we're still not clear whether the United States will pull the troops from Italy or not. That is certainly a cause for concern here in Rome.
Kazimierz Wysiak from the Italian capital, thank you very much. Now, here's what's also making news on Friday the 8th of May. A fragile month-old ceasefire in the Middle East appears under threat as Washington and Tehran exchange fire in the Strait of Hormuz, and America awaits Iran's response on its proposal for peace. Vladimir Putin may face a lonely Victory Day parade this Saturday, with Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko set to be the only head of state from the former Soviet republics that will attend the Moscow event. And the wait is over. Warsaw has officially put pen to paper on a €43 billion defence loan from the European Union, as Poland picks up the largest national allocation in the bloc. Right, it's time to head around the region and let's stay tight to NATO's eastern flank tonight, where the likes of Poland and the Baltic states, who sit on the front line of the Russia threat, are grappling with Trump's withdrawal of soldiers from Germany. In fact, Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski has been quick to offer up a new Polish home.
It's in Poland's interest for Europe to host as many US troops as possible. The more on Polish soil, the better. We don't ask where these troops will come from. They are welcome in Poland. We subsidize their presence with $15,000 per soldier. So the agreement on the status of US forces is very favorable to Washington.
That idea of a troop transfer was seconded by Andris Spruts, Latvia's defence chief, speaking exclusively to TVP World.
We would be very happy to have American soldiers, even in bigger numbers. We have American soldiers now on Latvian soil, also in the Baltic countries, of course, the big numbers in Poland. So I think redeployment would be one of the scenarios.
Further south, as the Kremlin's war in Ukraine continues, so too does its abductions of local children. Kyiv says almost 20,000 young people have been illegally taken to Russia and Belarus since the full-scale invasion began. And the Council of Europe's special envoy for Ukrainian children told TVP World no, quote, real or just peace can be achieved before they return home.
We know that this is happening, and only together we can, do what has to be done to make sure that these children are brought back. And many of them were tiny, they were infants when they were taken. So when you have over 4 years that have passed, many of them don't even remember where they come from. That is the sad reality. But this should be a true priority for all of us. It is a priority from the Ukrainian side. And I have to say that I think this is absolutely something that every normal human being understands how fundamentally wrong it is.
That's the big news. Here's what's trending, and check out this staggering footage making the rounds online. Hundreds of firefighters, police officers and soldiers have been deployed to tackle a wildfire in a southeastern Polish forest, with the blaze impacting around 300 hectares. Specialist planes and helicopters have carried out some 500 water drops since Tuesday, releasing over 600 tonnes from the sky. The silver lining, as we go to air, the fire has reportedly been brought under control. Looking ahead now, and prepare yourself for the Beijing battle of the handshake. Mr. Trump face to face with Mr. Xi Jinping. Spoiler, it may be more than a handshake. Donald Trump has suggested President Xi will give him a, quote, big fat hug when he gets there. I won't act that one out. But this has been some time coming. In fact, it's President Trump's first visit to China in almost a decade. It was called off about 2 months ago because of, you guessed it, Washington's war in Iran. That, of course, will be top of the agenda. Trump has been squeezing Beijing's oil supply with his blockade of Tehran's ports. Then there's tariffs, the economic tit-for-tat that has ricocheted back and forth across the Pacific Ocean, boiling over with 145% slapped on Chinese goods last year. There is now a truce on tariffs. There's also Ukraine. Beijing remains a friendly ally of the Kremlin. Trump seems in no rush to crack down on Vladimir Putin, and at this point, Kyiv is probably not holding its breath. I'll spell it out. Don't expect a breakthrough. Even Time magazine is running a headline, "Why Trump's China Trip is Set Up to Fail." That's because what you will see in Beijing is the diplomacy of convenience. The ballroom dance of politics, one step here, the other there, over a relationship widely regarded as the world's most important. They talk because one hand still feeds the other. And whatever happens, they will emerge triumphantly and sell a story of success to their own people. Whatever happens, they will tell their people, I stood up for that. I stood up for you. And that's the World Brief. You can follow TVP World on YouTube at tvpworld.com and wherever you get your news. I'll see you next week.